Okay.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the January 11th Technical Planning Committee meeting, and we'll begin with the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let me get out of here. Here's your agenda, sir.
Yes. I'd like just to take to remember Stan Dobis. He passed away December 31st, 2021. Many of us with the commission worked for him for years. He was one of the great servant leaders of Northwest Indiana. And really, well, he was my predecessor as chairman of this committee many years ago. So our thoughts are with Stan and his family. And if I could just have a moment of silence for Stan. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's proceed on to the minutes of November 9th, 2021. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? I did forward staff some misspellings, but I don't think it's point them out, but they agreed that they'd just correct the spellings, particularly some names. Anything else on the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make
David Wright, motion to approve.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Be my guest.
David Wright with a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Mark Odell, Town of Chesterton. I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, issues with the minutes? Hearing none, all in approval. I guess maybe we better take a roll call since we're Zoom call.
Yeah, I think it's a roll call. Yes, sir.
Mary Tanis.
I was not present.
Pardon?
I was not present at that meeting.
Oh, well.
She's abstaining.
Yeah, it's, I should actually have Floor read the,
Yeah, I think Floor has the updated list.
Yes, okay, I'm ready. So
okay.
Mary Tanis is abstaining. Kevin Brightsky,
Yes,
thank you. Justin Keel. George Topple,
Yes.
thank you. Mark Odell,
Yes.
thank you. Tom Dermody. Jerome Prince. Tom McDermott or Dean Button. Bill Carroll. Jocelyn Denham. Lori Mercer. Matt Murphy or Mike Jabo. David Wright,
Yes.
thank you. Blossom Mabon. Beth Schrader. Beth West. Robin Barzoni Tillman. Kelly Wenger,
Yes.
thank you. Kay Nelson or Heather Ennis. All right, we have a total of 5.
okay. So moved. Let's move on to public comment. I have got no emails or notice that we have any public comment at this time. Does anybody on this call have public comment? If not, we'll move on to planning. Resolution 2202, the Old Plank Road Memorandum of Understanding between Nurpsy and Village of Sauk Village, Illinois. And those are on pages 3 to 7 of your packet.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 2202, it's a resolution between Nurpsy and the Village of Sauk Village. As some of you may know, that a grant has been awarded and a consultant has been procured for a study to extend the Old Plank Road Trail into Indiana. There are villages and communities that are involved with this initiative in Illinois and in Indiana. The grant itself was a $300,000 grant from Cook County. And we at Nurpsy are matching that with our own planning monies of $50,000. So that has been agreed to. What we are trying to deal with here in this resolution is how we will pay the Village of Sauk Village for the work. And that is basically the idea of this entire resolution here, how much we are to reimburse. And the MOU itself is, I think, here on the next page. Yeah, here's the actual MOU in detail. Gets into all the whereases and therefores, but it gets into the actual payment plan and how it's going to be done and the procedures that are going to have to be followed and so on and so forth. So that is what we need to execute right now between our two entities. So we may get them paid and get the study off the ground. We do need to get them paid before the rest of the grant is expended, because our monies that we applied for do expire this June. So we're going to be the first ones they're going to be drawing from, and hence why we need to get this resolution executed.
Am I to understand this is strictly a planning or study project? No
Yes.
construction?
No, there's no construction or engineering on this project. It is a planning study. It's a feasibility study.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Mitch? The recommendation of to the executive board is for approval of resolution 2205.
2202, sir.
2202. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Skipped a line.
This is Mark Odell. I'll make that motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion, Mary Tanis, but again, I see the words Ford Heights in there. That is going to be an issue, I know.
Okay, thank you, Mary. And George, you might have to turn on your microphone. I didn't hear you. It's off now.
Got a little problem here.
There we go.
Hear me now.
Yes, George.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Floor, can you do
Sure.
a roll call?
Mary Tanis,
Yes,
thank you. Kevin Brightsky,
Yes.
thank you. George Topple,
Yes,
thank you. Mark Odell,
Yes.
thank you. David Wright,
Yes.
thank you. And Kelly Wenger,
Yes.
thank you. That's a total of 6.
Thank you all. So we'll forward that with a favorable recommendation to the executive board for their next full commission meeting next week.
Thank you.
Now, resolution 2205, Mitch, is Charles giving the presentation on that? Or is that you?
Yes, I'll be happy to do so.
Thank
The resolution here is talking about an update, the 5th update to our unified work program. And there are several minor changes that are here, talking about really concentrating on the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and also the monies that we're looking to expend on the plan itself. Now, MTP, we always have a new name for our plan. So the Metropolitan Transportation Plan was, your NWI 2050 plan, your comprehensive regional plan. Okay, it has different names and connotations, but So the MTP in this case, what we're going to do is hire as many as 4 firms using that $400,000. And the idea, because we do have some extra money remaining in our PL funds, and it is a matter of use it or lose it. So we think this would be an excellent opportunity to bring on some consultants to work directly with consultants work directly with us at Nurpsy on several aspects of the plan, including active transportation, land use, transit, freight. And what we're trying to do is float those requests out. We've actually received already some proposals for the active transportation component of the plan, but we're hoping to receive the other 3 within the month. We're going to be, I think we did put those out for proposals yesterday, and I think it's a 2-week turnaround on those. And we'll receive them and bring them under our wing, and then we will have all these different consulting firms working under us on these specific issues. And we at the Nurpsy staff will be melding in those recommendations into the final document that needs to be ready and approved by May of 2023. So just over a year from now, we need to get this complete, and hence why we need to have an adjustment to our UPWP for this allowance. And that should cover the reasoning there, and I'll take any questions.
Anyone? Mitch, you got off easy, I guess.
I did.
The recommendation to the executive board is for favorable approval, but could someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mary Tanis.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Second. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, George Topple.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, Flora, could we have a roll call?
Yes. Mary Tanis,
Yes.
thank you. Kevin Brightsky,
Yes.
thank you. George Topple,
Yes.
thank you. Mark Odell,
Yes.
thank you. David Wright,
Yes.
thank you. And Kelly Wenger,
Yes.
thank you. Total of 6.
So moved. This will be forwarded to executive board / full commission for approval next week. Next on planning agenda is Marquette Greenway Rees and Reed Awards presentation. This is informational. Mitch, what good news do you have?
I got 20 million reasons of good news. Share in a minute here. You should see the screen.
Excellent.
Okay, so thank you very much. And if you were at the Pet Pedal and Paddle meeting last week, well, you're going to get another round of this presentation, but we'll try to be brief. So as was mentioned, we have had a very good couple of months, to say the least, regarding the Marquette Greenway. Not 1, but 2 grants have actually been awarded to the development of the project throughout Northwest Indiana, and they are raised and ready. And unfortunately, they sound a lot alike. So we're going to take the time to kind of demystify and unpack what these mean and what they mean to the future of the project. And I will be joined by Rafi Wilkinson. He is on the line. He is from the National Park Service. He will be taking over a few slides. And it's important to realize that this is now being a project being coordinated by both Nurpsy and the National Park Service, and we will get into that momentarily. If you're not familiar by now, shame on you. No, sorry. You should know the Marquette Greenway. It does go from Chicago to New Buffalo. It is a 60-mile route. We have currently 34 miles of that route either funded or built, so over half, asked correctly, and the remaining 26 miles are what we applied for the raise money for. So let's talk about that in detail. The raise, it actually stands for an acronym. Of course it does. It is Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. It is a federal grant. And it used to have many different names. It was Tiger when it was started under the Obama administration. And then President Trump got in and called it Build. And now we have President Biden who called it Raise. So everyone wants to have their own stamp on it, but it's pretty much the same program through and through. And it has been a long, strange trip for this particular grant. We first submitted under that Tiger moniker to the United States Department of Transportation way back in 2017. We submitted twice more under build in 18 and 19. We forego 20 because, well, there were some issues. But we did hear that the raise under President Biden was announced just last summer. And we put our fourth submission in July of 2021. And yes, we were awarded in November. There were 90 projects selected in 47 states, including the DC and Guam. And keep this in mind, those are 90 out of 900 some that were submitted. It's a highly competitive national program. The maximum award is 25 million. The minimum is, I believe, 5 million. So these are big ticket items. And so the Marquette Greenway being one of them had a lot, to deal with. And in the terms of competition, they awarded over $1 billion with this last round of raise, and that is nearly 10 billion in all throughout the life of this program. And there were 8 trail projects that were selected during this round, which is by far the record and easily to figure out because during the build program, the administration's priority was not trails or active transportation. So all these projects kind of started queuing up, and thus with this newest round, they all got pretty much released, including ours here in Northwest Indiana. So here's how it will unfold. The raise includes 17 projects that do make up the 26 unfunded miles in all 3 states. Those projects are trails or bridges, boardwalks, whatever it takes. The total project cost to complete these 17 segments is just over $40 million. So I know you're doing your math and you're saying, whoa, that's a lot of money for 26 miles. Again, there are bridges involved. Some of these bridges are quite substantial, and some are going to take some real money to rehab. Boardwalks are also involved in some cases, and right-of-way acquisition. So you put that all into the same stew, you get yourself $47 million. Our raise request was 23.1 million, which is 57%. And of course, that means 43% were local funds and awards, totaling nearly $18 million. So that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to see that overmatch, that we have a lot of skin in the game here. And of course, it really helped out tremendously with our project going forward. And this is the sheet, the fact sheet that I have been waiting to read for 5 years from the USDOT that made our project official. The USDOT shows you here that we applied for 23.1 million. We received 17.7 million, or $8 million. Again, that is a $5 million shortfall from what we requested. There's a couple reasons why. Actually, there's only one reason why. We found out, and only recently, that the National Park Service and their segments, part of this grant, were eliminated from consideration because raised grants are not allowed on federal land. Now, before people start panicking, keep in mind, part of this grant included the allowance of almost $4.8 million of already appropriated federal money towards the Marquette Greenway within the Indiana Dunes National Park. So they were pretty much on their way and almost really complete with their segment. It just kind of helped bolster our case with the raised officials. But that is how we are now figuring out. And again, not really a hiccup at all, barely an inconvenience. We'll keep it going. So let's talk about this in some detail. If you're not familiar with it, first of all, the city of Chicago, they were the first ones up on board. There's a segment from 100th Street and Avenue G down to the state line. You can see that green line. That is the state line. That is Indiana. That's Hammond that built out to the state line. And that has been done for a couple of years. And to my knowledge, the city of Chicago is now off the board because they have finished this part while they were waiting for us to get the grant done. So the city of Chicago is off the board. What we're trying to do, however, is continue to keep them in the loop for signage and wayfinding to make sure that we can unify the entire trail from one end to the other so people can obviously understand where to go and that they understand what trail they're on and so on and so forth. So Chicago is kind of taken care of. Next, going east. Now, you're going to notice that I am skipping some geography because, well, they're done or they're funded. So what we do is we take off here from Klein Avenue, which is all the way on the right side of your picture, left side of your picture. And you see that's Klein Avenue and extends to Bridge Street in downtown Gary. This segment of the trail is probably going to be the most complicated because there's no real clear path through there. And we're actually utilizing an old South Shore Line bridge that's in the bottom picture. That is over the toll road. That represents that curly Q there on the left side. So we're going to come over the toll road from the north side, wind back down to the south side, utilize NICD. That is the proposal. Of course, NICD and we are still collaborating on this, but we're going to work with NICD to hopefully put the trail within their corridor or close to their corridor and get it through to that particular point. We'll have to jog a little bit because it gets really heavy with railroad traffic, and probably use some side streets up Bridge Street to where that continues again, that green line being the Gary Green Link, an existing segment in downtown Gary. So this one does involve that project over there, project number 2. And there is another project 2, project number 4, which would be a bridge over another active rail line within that vicinity. And hopefully we can work with the South Shore Line and possibly cantilever off their bridge or something close by to make that happen. So the thing about the Marquette Greenway, if you haven't understood yet, it does go through some very challenging geographical areas. There's not really a clean shot for the entire project, but we are trying to make things work. And right now we have the city of Gary on board, at least with that configuration. And now we get into the national park, and this commences at Broadway all the way to the left side, Broadway there being that little green L that's coming up Broadway. And then we get into a sliver of the national park. And at this point, I will now kick it off to Rafi, and he'll talk about that segment.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for letting me be part of this. So this is obviously a long section. It uses abandoned rail line, namely the Dune Park branch, which we'll see takes us all the way into Portage Lakefront, actually. But this segment is funded within the national park. We hope to begin engineering on it this year. We're having an engineer from Denver, part of our service center, come out, who is a professional construction engineer, to help us with this. And so this will be very exciting. Obviously, connect downtown Gary to our Paul Douglas Center. And then, yeah, now the blow up the Douglas Center, just to the north of our parking lot there. So that north-south road, that's Lake Street in the neighborhood of Miller. And just north of that are 9 pesky little parcels of land that the railroad took over in 1906, but has stymied us now for some 30 years. But we've been very fortunate. We got 5 of them submitted with Lake County in December, and we are confident this year we'll put the next 4 and finally have all of those 27 little parcels to get the trail through there. But that'll be a very nice trailhead there. We'll connect down into our parking lot and obviously take advantage of the Douglas Center. And we hope to begin construction on this segment from Lake Street to the east next summer. And then just a little bit of blue there that is funded, that is now what we call the Marquette Trail. Obviously, we'll rename it the Marquette Greenway Trail, but that is currently gravel, and that is slated to be paved and upgraded next summer as well. So hopefully by the end of next summer, you'll be able to ride your bike from West Beach to the Paul Douglas Center. And then, yeah, I mean, obviously very exciting. The next section, which is probably, and Mitch will talk about this too, is the lease plan is we have to get through West Beach, which is not a problem, but we would ideally like to go through Ogden Dunes. If not, we will try to skirt just around the south of them, pick up national park land for a short section, and then into the Portage redevelopment land, taking us into Portage Lakefront.
And thank you, Rafi, and I'll get back to you in a second here. I'll talk a little bit about that into the city of Portage. As you can see, the trail itself will come very close to the Portage Lakefront Riverwalk, which has been a very popular facility. A lot of visitors, great view shed to the city up there, swimming, fishing, you name it. And so we're going to hope to have this trail connect up to that path and do a little bit of dancing around the way. So let me show you how that's going to look. The city of Portage has outlined this, and they did so many years back. And what I want to show you here is the route that the city of Portage is proposing throughout this area. So right here is pre-coat metal steel. Here is the actual canal from the lake to the Portage Marina here, and here's the road that brings you in, and you're like, wow, how do you get a trail through there? Well, this is how the route will work. This will be all new trail here coming in with the red line. A new bridge will be built alongside the existing bridge. We know we have a railroad bridge there now. We'll either utilize that or build a new pedestrian bridge. They're probably both going to be about the same cost, but we're going to wind the trail down away from this entrance road, which is very helpful because we have a lot of steel hauling trucks on that road. So we like to separate that traffic, and then we're going to bring them down underneath these bridges here, underneath US 12 and the railroads. And that is going to be extremely helpful to keep people clear of those obvious impediments and bring them safely into the Portage Marina at that location. So we'll have a new bridge up there, as I mentioned, and a new boardwalk bridge underneath at this point here. Now, as this trail continues here and continues then to the south, we're going to encounter an existing railroad bridge along Chrisman Road. If you take a look at this picture on the bottom and off to the very left, that is the bridge deck for State Route 249. So we're staying very close to 249 coming through here, but this will be a rehab bridge. It's in pretty good structural shape at this point, and that has been given raised money to rehab. And then we skip all the way from 249 to 149. So if you can get this in your head where 249 is, that's pretty much where our offices are at Nurpsy and Bass Pro Shop. The trail has been either completed or nearly completed. I know that there is a segment of the national park that is going to be needed to get over Salt Creek, which the city of Portage will end up, I believe, Rafi, constructing this year.
Yeah, we've wrapped up compliance and we hope to start construction this winter and then obviously in earnest this spring. But yeah, it does involve a 150-foot bridge over Salt Creek. But we hope again you can ride your bike from 149 to 249 by the end of next summer.
Beautiful. And so that's been going on. And Burns Harbor, being the little community that can, they continue to build many different miles of the trail, utilizing partnerships with steel mills and the like, receiving grants. So they have finished, actually completed the trail up to 149, which is on the very left-hand side of this picture. This new development is coming in, and as you can tell, the trail, as you can see, zigging, zagging right through the middle of it here, but staying pretty much continuous. This trail is going to be the linchpin for this new development. And that is very exciting news to see an actual development focus along this corridor, understanding the power the trail will provide for new development, for new interests within this area. This is called Westport Development, and really applaud the vision of Burns Harbor for, not only advocating for the trail, but going so far as to make sure that it becomes an economic tool for the future growth of the community. So great to see there. Going forward, the next segment here does include more of the national park, and Rafi, take it away.
Sure. So Burns Harbor will enter our land just shy of the Norfolk Southern tracks, and a little bit of a sticking point. We have to go over the Norfolk Southern tracks there. We wanted to go under it, but we're not allowed. But we're going to overcome that and build a overpass over Norfolk Southern into what we call Minoki Prairie. And actually, it's exciting because it'll open up a lot more of the prairie than the visitor would normally see. And we'll continue east and then head up right by Howe Road and connect into the Porter Brickyard Trail.
And moving on from the Porter Brickyard, which again, this green line at this point represents the length of the Marquette Greenway. And again, if you haven't figured out, some names, we trade off names. There's local names for some of these segments, and then the broader name being the Marquette Greenway. But at this segment here on the very right-hand side of the screen where the green line picks up, that is what's called the Porter Brickyard, that goes from the town of Porter all the way to Calumet Trail near the beach. And so the next slide does bring you into the Calumet Trail. Now, the purple line here is State Route 49. So you see we're doing these skips. We had from 149 to 249, now we're 49. So 49, if you're not familiar with State Route 49, that is the entrance to the Indiana Dunes State Park right up here. And that is the Dune Park South Shore Station. And this yellow line is a kind of a new wrinkle that we're working with, and that is Rafi's as well. So take it away.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so, Porter County has maintained the existing Calumet Trail for some time. We all know that it's largely a wetland right now. We have seen fish on it, and I'm not joking. So it was, we needed to do something, but there's really restrictions with NIPSCO because that's their active high tension power line corridor. And so there's massive weight restrictions on how we have to build stuff, and we can't raise it up too much because cranes have to go down it. And so Porter County approaches is if we could try to take as much of it off of the corridor as possible. And actually, I think we've come up with a great route that connects into some of our existing trails, and it really finally provides a true continuity, like from our visitor center to the east. But so we'll utilize some of our Glenwood Dunes existing trails, and then when we get to what's called East State Park Road or Kemmel, where our old visitor center is now, the USG office will cross US 12 and the NICD tracks, and we've had really good cooperation with NICD. We do anticipate having dedicated off-road crossings at both Mineral Springs Road and here at Kemmel Road, and then we'll utilize an abandoned road of Beverly Shores. It's called Service Avenue that will get us to downtown Beverly Shores at Broadway, and then further east and all the way to Lakeshore County, and then probably have to stay on the existing corridor for the last little bit where we connect into the completed Singing Sands Trail there at US 12 right near Mount Baldy.
So I will say a hearty thank you to Rafi specifically for working with Bob Thompson there in Porter County for making this happen. We're pleased, people might ask why. Again, it's more of a fish route than a bike route right now. There are some real problems with the elevation of that particular segment, but if anyone's been on the Calumet Trail, they know if you've seen 1 mile of the Calumet Trail, you've seen every mile of the Calumet Trail. It's very monotonous from one end to the other, and there's high tension lines and freight cars going by. So this is a great way of breaking it up, winding the trail through some forested areas of the national park and linking to areas of the national park that have been for a long time not really visited or understood or even known about. So very interesting, and I think very exciting development going forward here for bringing the Calumet Trail to life and giving people a real strong experience throughout that corridor. So moving on from there, this is how it'll look on the segments of the Calumet Trail that are going to be built within the NIPSCO right-of-way. Obviously, you can see the land will have to be elevated to make sure we stay out of the wetland, and that will be done this time out. And it will be a paved asphalt surface, which has been something waited for quite some time. So we're going to skip again into the Singing Sands Trail. This is LaPorte County, and very proud to let you all know that this was opened last year as part of the Marquette Greenway. And it comes in, as you can see, it comes in many different flavors. We've got some industrial, and we have some woodland and conservation area here that the trail winds itself through. It's a 4-mile segment. And yes, it's very, it's a very creative route because, again, no clean way of getting through here. So we were able to work with INDOT and with I believe, NICD Freight Line on producing this this trail here that kind of, winds its way through, going right to the NIPSCO power plant to the north. But here it's barricaded off on one end and it's fenced on the other, but at least it provides a measure of safety for people within that tight area. And then, of course, it expands out, and we see a boardwalk that was installed on the very eastern end of their segment around the existing landfill area. Needed to be done. The soils were not very strong in that particular area. So again, a great project. It took way too long to get done, but now it is done, and it's one of the crown jewels in the entire length of our network. The green line here, right here at this very end of this green line, is what I just showed you with the boardwalk as the trail itself kind of emerges here coming from the west. Now, the rest of the trail at this point will have a trail built here in Michigan City connecting to a funded segment, and then continuing up to US 12 and going into Michigan throughout this corridor. What we're going to do is take the trail along some of the roads here as a side path. We will not share the road. Keep that in mind. These are along roads, not in the roads. It's a big difference. So we're going to keep it off road, and we're going to go north of the Amtrak line here, north of US 12 north of the Amtrak line and wind the trail through here. We're already working with several landowners. And when I say we, I mean Michigan City is working with several landowners throughout here, getting their commitments and getting their understanding to get the trail up to this point, which is Muir Road. At Muir Road, we have a frontage road called Grand Beach Road that the trail is being built within by LaPorte County, hence why it is a blue line. That's about a mile from Muir Road to the state line. The next picture being the state line here at the bottom. Again, that is the LaPorte County segment. From here, the state of Michigan takes over. It's going to stay north of 12 to a particular crossing, come back south to 12, and then continue into the city of New Buffalo. Now, at this point, it is going to go on road, but the road that it'll share to get down to downtown New Buffalo is this road. So as I have always mentioned to people with many of these residential roads, they might as well be like 30-foot bike trails because there's so little vehicular traffic, and this road certainly qualifies as that. US 12 is out there in the distance of this picture, so the trail will be coming through here through signage and probably pavement markings, and then end up at a trailhead in downtown New Buffalo. So that is the detail route that we know of at this point. Obviously, when engineering commences and other things come up, it might zig and zag just to make sure it works, but we're pretty confident that that will be the final route configuration. And this is what it all costs. And I'm not going to break that down in any detail, but what I will point out to you in this budget, with all these numbers flying around, you can see all 17 segments represented here and what they're going to cost. You can see the amount of investment Michigan has already put into theirs. They have a local commitment of about $3.6 million. They're only about $1 million short of finishing there. So they've done a great job in accumulating the money necessary for the project. I do want to bounce back to that Burns Harbor segment that Rafi had talked about, the bridge over Norfolk. Because they're asking us to build a bridge, 0.6 miles turns into a $4 million or $4.3 million project. It's pretty much all bridge at that point. And it is part of the RAISE grant, so they will be able to utilize our funding for that. But again, still quite a detour. So the final part here is called the Ready State Funds. We applied for about $2 million of that to kind of help top off the grant. And so people are like RAISE and ready and ready and RAISE. So the next part of my lesson is talking about the Ready grant. This won't be nearly as long, but I do want to make sure I differentiate both of these grants for all of you to understand going forward. Again, another acronym, Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative. This is a state-led initiative. Ready, Set, Go. What does this involve? It's administered by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. It made $500 million available last year through an act of the Indiana General Assembly signed off by Governor Holcomb. These are part of the American Recovery Act funds that were set aside for the state of Indiana. I believe they got $3 billion, so they shaved up this much for the Ready program. Now, 17 regions throughout the entire state of Indiana submitted proposals for that for a $50 million max award per application. And each of these 17 regions, as you can imagine, they're broken up throughout the state, and they pretty much represented every square acre of the entire state. Northwest Indiana, our 7 counties, was led by the Northwest Indiana Forum. Keep in mind that Nurpsy are the 3 counties north of the Kankakee River. There's 4 counties south of the Kankakee River that encompasses the Northwest Indiana Forum territory. Now, 36 projects were selected by the Northwest Indiana Forum for their proposal. And one of those projects included the Marquette Greenway. And the proposal was based on previous work under the Ignite 2018 regional plan, which really helped them get a foot in the door when this program was announced. We had already done the planning, we had already worked with the stakeholders, and so it's just a matter of consolidating that into the application, which worked really well. And they were awarded $50 million with the Marquette Greenway slated to receive up to $3 million in funds to aid with the local match obligations. So as you know, back to the budget, we asked for $2 million. Well, we're going to get another $1 million out of the out of the Ready money to make this work out, which is really phenomenal because we have a lot of flexibility with that Ready money. We're going to help offset local match obligations from some communities that might not be able to make that happen. Work with some other engineering issues that come up, and also help pay for some of us at Nurpsy to help administer the grant as well. So a big win overall to really expedite this project. As for the schedule, this is a schedule that only an engineer can love, but this tells you how it's going to happen, all the way from the award that we received at number 1 all the way down to number 22 when we get down to construction and inspection. As you can see, we're looking for a finish probably sometime in early 2028. But it probably will be sooner because so much work has already been afforded to all these segments that I had just mentioned in this presentation, and there's been a lot already dedicated to it. Right now, we're working with number 2 consultant selection and working with both the Federal Highway Department and INDOT to make that happen. That is not easy. This is the first time an MPO such as Nurpsy has received a direct raise grant or Tiger grant in the state of Indiana. So there's a bit of scrambling going on. And as I said before, they shorted us $5 million. And so we're also having to work with that. And going back to that $5 million shortfall, keep in mind that we are very confident we're going to make it up. There are many different funding sources that are available at our disposal. We have the statewide Next Level Trail funding, which is already focusing on trail projects in Northwest Indiana, such as the Marquette Greenway. 2 segments have been funded by Next Level Trails, and we have new money coming through the pipe with the infrastructure grant. And that is putting another maybe as much as $6 million a year in Nurpsy's coffers for roadway and trail projects region-wide. So we're pretty comfortable making up that deficit and matching up the rest of the raise grant. Okay, I've said enough. Thank you for listening. For those who have heard it again, now you're experts in the matter, but I'll be more than happy, myself and Rafi will be more than happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Mitch or Rafi?
You might be on mute. Please check your mute button before you speak.
Looks great, Mitch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
This is wonderful. The collaboration is outstanding and truly a regional transformative project. Something that the agency, the region can be proud of in the long run.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You
Yeah.
bet.
And I appreciate Rafi's involvement with this, with National Park and the people as well.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously the National Park thanks the dozens of people who are helping us too, because we're really convoluted in what we can do. And so there's been so many partnerships created to make this happen.
And we're glad to help you communicate that, because I don't think the citizens understand the limitations of government agencies and government in general. But we apparently, staff and yourself and the other collaborators are bringing this all together using your resources for the greater good. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other questions for the staff or for Rafi? If not, let's go on to programming, which starts with the public comment report on Amendment 22, 3.5 to fiscal year 2020-2024 and fiscal year 2022 to 2026. Is that you, Charles?
Yes, it is.
Thank
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. So this is public comment report is for amendments 22-03 and 22-03.5. Just to kind of give some explanation, Federal Highway, actually NDOT and Federal Highway and Federal FTA, Federal Transit Administration, has requested that we separate transit amendments from highway amendments. That way, if you have an interest and don't have an interest in one of the amendments, then it would help speed along your day. Amendment number 22-03 is the surface infrastructure of the highway portion, and 22-0.3.5, 03.5 is the transit portion. They were released for a 21-day public comment, which opened on December 13th, 2021, and closed on January 3rd of last week. Nurpsy did not receive any comments from the public. You can see here. Prior to sending out the 2 amendments out for public comment, we sent the amendments to members of the Intergovernmental Consultation Group, or the ICG, for their comments. We received one comment or question from Federal Highway, and that was whether or not the non-exempt projects in the proposed amendments were reflected in the MTP or the long-range plan. Nurpsy's response was that yes, all of the projects in the amendment have been reviewed and are correct, whether or not they qualify for air quality exemptions. Those that are not exempt are mentioned in Nurpsy's MTP. In the two amendments, there were 4 projects that were not exempt, and they are LaPorte County's north-south corridor, Cherville's Kennedy Avenue, NICTE's double track, and NICTE's Westlake project. So we, and therefore we were given the okay, the thumbs up from the ICG on December 20th, I believe. I'll have to look that up, but I think it's 17th, excuse me. It's December 17th.
Anybody have any questions for Charles? If not, was there anything else, Charles?
Okay, no, not on the public comment, but moving on, pages 15 and 18 have the resolutions for the amendments 22-03 and amendment 22-0, which resolution 20-03, amendment 22-03, to keep that straight. And in the packet, if you notice that somehow the amendments were left out, they are on the screen. So, but I'll give you a synopsis of what is in the first amendment. They contain projects from fiscal years 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, which include 9 new projects for NDOT, which consist of 1 small structure replacement, 3 railroad crossing safety projects, 1 Pell study, that's a planning and environmental linkages, 1 ITS project, intelligent transportation system, and 3 IDIQ projects, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, is what IDIQ stands for. Cedar Lake has a sidewalk project. Chesterton's has a new project for EVP on traffic signals. East Chicago is road reconstruction. Hammond has a road reconstruction and bike pedestrian facilities. Highland has a bike pedestrian signal. Hobart had the elimination of a project. LaPorte had the corridor study, sidewalks, and an elimination of a project. Maryville had intersection modification, a roundabout. Michigan City had 3 bike pedestrian facilities projects. Munster had a road reconstruction. Cherville had a road reconstruction. Valparaiso had an intersection modification or roundabout. Most of these were already listed in the adoption back in April that we submitted to NDOT, but with the issues with the STIP and TIP, we are putting these through again, just to make sure that they get into, because right now we are still operating under the 2020-2024 TIP. So we're trying to get some of these projects into the 2024 to 2024 TIP so that we can start working on those sooner than later. We do expect the STIP to be approved sometime next month or early March at the very latest. But resolution 22-04, which has amendment 22-03.5, just to keep all these numbers for everybody. Contains 6 projects for NICD, the South Shore Railroad, and Double Track and Westlake extensions, as well as some of the other projects. Are there any questions?
I'm not hearing anybody. It's a lot to go over, I suppose. Thank you, Charles.
If anybody would like, I can email you a copy of this.
And that should also be on the website, shouldn't it?
Any
So moved. This is Mary Tanis.
Thank you.
This is Mark Odell. I second the motion.
Thank you, Mark. Any other discussion? If not, let's have a roll call, Floor.
Sure. Mary Tanis,
Yes.
thank you. Kevin Brightsky,
Yes.
thank you. George Topple,
Yes.
thank you. Mark Odell,
Yes.
thank you. David Wright,
Yes.
thank you. And Kelly Wenger,
Yes.
thank you. A total of 6.
So moved. Let's address Resolution 2204 now. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Mary Tanis.
Thank you.
Second, Mark Odell.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? If not, Floor, roll call.
Okay. Mary Tanis,
Yes.
thank you. Kevin Brightsky,
Yes.
thank you. George Topple,
Yes.
thank you. Mark Odell,
Yes.
thank you. David Wright,
Yes.
thank you. And Kelly Wenger,
Yes.
thank you. Total of 6.
So moved. Outstanding work as usual, Charles, and this will be on the agenda for the next full or executive board Nurpsy meeting.
Thank
Favorable.
you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to topical committee reports. Starting with
Yes.
Pedal and Paddle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pedal and Paddle did meet last week. Pretty much the entire meeting was wrapped around the presentation that you just heard. So very proud of that. I do also want to let people know that we are thick in the middle of what's called the Indiana Year of the Trails. And that was a proclamation by the Indiana General Assembly signed off by Governor Holcomb. And that goes from October to October. And hopefully this summer we will have several events in communities throughout the region celebrating our trails and the trails that they particularly have. And I will have that information on our website shortly, and also we'll work to get that out through our constant contact list. We are going to be kind of reconfiguring the topical committees going forward, where they are kind of in the first week. We're going to have them now in the last week of the month. And we're going to kind of stagger them where they're not all hitting at once so people can breathe a little bit better. The next Pedal and Paddle Committee thus will be in May, on May 26th is a Thursday. And then it'll be still a quarterly affair, but that's kind of a long wait between now and May. So we might actually work on getting some, maybe another workshop off the ground for your education and edification between that.
And if anybody's interested, most of these meetings appear on YouTube under Nurpsy meeting. So I believe your Pedal and Paddle was already on. I think I saw part of it.
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Mitch.
Mhm.
Land Use Committee.
This is Iman. The Land Use Committee haven't met since November, so there is no report. However, the next Land Use Committee will be held on February 23rd at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Mhm.
Surface Transportation Committee.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair. The Surface Transportation Committee has also not met since November 2nd, so there's no update in that regard. The next meeting will be February 22nd. Note what Mitch said, that we are shifting the times that the committees meet, and so this will be shifting to the fourth week of the month. But I do have an update that Peter Kimball will give about safety data that we'll be unveiling.
Yeah, so our plan is to now do a quarterly report on crash data, kind of a safety overview for our region, just so we're able to update everybody and let people, speak if they have any concerns. And we can also kind of track how we're doing by comparing that quarterly data to the previous year. So we'll be rolling that out at STC, and I guess if time allows and it's wanted, we can do those reports at TPC as well. So any feedback regarding that report, I'm sure there will be some after the first one. I can kind of tailor those reports to kind of what committee members are looking for or hoping to see within that data.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, Transportation Resource and Oversight Committee, T-Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. T-Rock will be meeting on the 25th, 9 a.m. for Lake Porter and 1 p.m. for LaPorte. It's going to be a very busy meeting. We're going to be discussing, as Mitch alluded earlier, we have received between $4 and $6 million annually every year on the IIJA funds. So, and we need to program 2022 and 2023 because we won't have time to program those with the NOFA. I've been telling everybody, I kind of feel like Santa got back to the North Pole and he still has a full bag of presents. So I'm looking at different ways because we have $4 million that we need to use before May 1st, or need to obligate before May 1st. So I'm looking at different opportunities that we may have to obligate those funds as for this year as well as next year. In addition, we are going to be going over some of the we're going to be doing a brief overview over the NOFA and what the different tweaks that we're making to it this year. So, and tweaks is always for the better.
And as always, the staff's here to help you. So if you have any ideas to help us make those commitments on a timely basis and interest, contact Charles and staff. I see Kathy Luke on the call, or she was. I was going to ask if there's anything from Environmental Management Policy Committee, but
She's on the call, but she might be muted.
she just dropped off. Oh, there she is over there. Kathy, do you?
Sorry, I had to scroll back up to find myself to unmute. The EMPC did not meet in January. We will be meeting on the first Thursday in February. We'll probably focus on environmental projects and plans for the year. We have made an offer and been accepted for a new natural resources planner to replace Joe Axel, who's gone over to Lake Michigan Coastal Program. If some of you may know Jen Birchfield, she's been the Federal Urban Waters Coordinator for a number of years. She is going to come and work for Nurpsy at the end of this month, so that's very exciting. The other, we did receive a new grant from the Forest Service, so we have probably another 4 or 5 rounds of community projects that we can do in the next couple years. And right now I have newly under contract Geosyntech. They are going to be working on developing guidelines for the green infrastructure additions we made to complete streets to make the living streets policy. So I will be probably in March scheduling some the stakeholder workshops to get input onto those guidelines as we go along. I think that is all at the moment.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other committee reports? If not, South Shore Clean Cities. Lori?
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. It's nice to see your faces. I have several updates. The first being on the Volkswagen Dieselwise with DARA option grants. South Shore Clean Cities submitted 6 applications for our members and partners. Those were due on the 17th of December, totaling 1.2 million within the Nurpsy region. So we'll keep you posted on the awards. The committee has not announced their next meeting when those will go over, but we'll keep you posted on those. We also have some other VW grant news. Some level 2 charging stations that were acquired through the VW grant program are being installed in the Nurpsy region, including 2 in Highland, 1 in Munster, and 1 in Maryville. We wrote the grant applications for those through our partnership with Nurpsy, so congratulations on those. The town of LaPorte recently demonstrated a Nissan Leaf in partnership with us and Nissan. There was a great story about it in the Times with Mayor Dermody and some of the other city departments talking about their experience with that extended test drive with the Nissan Leaf. I've shared the link in my report, which will be submitted to the full committee. Also, the US EPA, the DERA grants, the Diesel Emission Reduction Act grants, those generally come out right around this week. Last year, they were released on the 14th. We've yet to hear anything about those being out just yet, but we're keeping an eye out, and we are in touch with our partners at EPA. So we will keep you posted on that. We were also excited to be among the participants in a recently awarded Department of Energy electric vehicle workplace charging grant. South Shore Clean Cities was awarded this Empower grant, another great acronym. It's the Equitable Mobility Powering Opportunities for Workplace Electrification Readiness, a little bit of a mouthful. NIPSCO is also partnering on this grant. We are one of 30 Clean Cities coalitions that's going to be working on this grant. It is just getting started. The award was just announced right at the end of 2021, so we will keep you posted as that gets moving. Wanted to also let everybody know that we are co-hosting with Wisconsin Clean Cities on the 25th of January at 10 a.m. a hydrogen and fuel cell technologies webinar. We will be joined by speakers from the Gas Technology Institute, Cummins, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and the Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Energy Association. Hydrogen is one of those areas and one of those technologies that is growing and that a lot of people are curious about and interested in, but frankly don't know a lot about. So whether you're kind of at that 101 level or already know quite a bit and want to know about what opportunities may be coming down the pike, this is a really good one. You can register for that on southshorecleancities.org. Also wanted to let folks know, I believe that you know that South Shore Clean Cities, through our partnership with Nurpsy, also assists the Partners for Clean Air program. Their scholarships for high school seniors in Lake Porter and LaPorte counties just opened for application this week. Those are due on March 7th. They will be awarding up to 3 scholarships of $2,500 each. You can also find that information on the South Shore Clean Cities website or on the Partners for Clean Air website. You can always contact me as well, and I'd be happy to give you that information directly. The Partners for Clean Air Awards and Luncheon is currently scheduled for Earth Day itself on Friday, April 22nd at the Hammond Marina. You can save the date for that. The registration should be opening soon. And I also wanted to let everybody know, so there's no confusion, as part of South Shore Clean Cities redesignation as a statewide Clean Cities coalition, A rebranding was part of that process and a renaming. So you will very soon, this time next week, be seeing that we will be having a new name. We will have a new logo. Same folks you know and love, just under a new brand. So watch for that. We will be getting in touch. And that's all. Thank you.
Any questions for Lori? I guess we can move on then. Other planning partners. Do we have anybody else that wants to speak? If not, do we have any other staff announcements? I don't think that there are. Staff covers things pretty well in our general meetings. So our upcoming Nurpsy meetings are finance and personnel on January 20th at 8 o'clock. The Nurpsy full commission meeting will be January 20th, 2022 at 9 o'clock. Previously announced T-Rock for Lake and Porter County will be meeting January 25th, 2022 at 9 a.m. And T-Rock for LaPorte County will meet January 25th at 1 o'clock p.m. And all of you that are connected with municipalities and have interest, bear in mind that Mitch was looking for resources to help us spend some money. So.
And Charles.
And Charles. Sorry.
Charles is already looking for money. A lot more than I am.
And our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 8th at 10 a.m.
Kevin, are these all Zoom meetings?
So far, they'll be announced
Okay.
otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, we're under kind of the Governor
Right.
Holcomb's watch, and he keeps
Nice to hear.
extending the emergency order. So when he stops, we're gonna probably more or less go into a hybrid, we're thinking. So we'll give
Right.
people the opportunity, if they're still not comfortable being in public, the opportunity
Sure.
to join, but we're still working out those details.
Okay, thank you.
But of course,
Mhm.
public buildings.
George Topol, if I might say that a hybrid has to be approved before we can go there.
Right.
Dave Hollenbeck is working on it as we speak.
Mhm.
So the answer is, I don't know.
Well, let's be optimistic, but I'd just point out that one of the problems having these meetings in public buildings is we need to sanitize them and puts a lot of burden on maintenance and facilities people throughout our region. And a lot of people don't realize how much goes into putting in a public meeting apart from the standard issues. But we appreciate your patience and your questions. Do we have any other questions for anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mary Tanis.
Second, Mark Odell.
Darn, I thought nobody wanted to go home.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You all.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy
Thank you,
New Year.
everyone.